welcome everybody to episode 9 of Exploiting the Explicit, where we exploit the obvious, what is right in front of us in order to learn from life and grow with each other. I'm your host, Abigail Hathaway, and
I am the co-host of this show, Corey Diamond,
all right.
hip hop artist, dancer, life coach.
And a diamond.
Pressure
All that pressure.
creates diamonds.
Yes.
Diamonds cut diamonds.
And diamonds cut diamonds, exactly. And diamonds together can explore the topic that we have today of the frequency of fear and faith. Bum, bum, bum.
There we go.
So, Corey, let's delve into this frequency of fear and then how we can overcome that fear with our faith. What are your thoughts on fear and faith and how they couple together?
Well, the way I typically look at it is it's two sides of the same coin. It's like powered by the same source of being able to utilize the God-given energy that we have, but you could either utilize that energy in a way that creates a reality that you want, or you can use it to create a reality that you don't want. And like I think a lot of people are not aware of that power that they have to do this. And so it's just kind of like if you have a sword and you just swinging it, and you'll probably end up cutting somebody or something because you don't know how to use it. And it's like a power that we have that I think people use and don't realize they're using it in that way. And so it's like life can take on whatever shape that kind of comes this way, and people will feel like, oh dang, like I don't know, I don't feel like I have any control over my life. But it's because they haven't been aware of the way that they've been utilizing this power, so to speak. And we can definitely go really deep on it, but that's kind of like the surface level thing I want to share in relation to that. How about you?
I feel fear is rooted in evil, in the sense, evil being the all encompassing term that represents the frequency of death and decay, of stagnation, depression, because those are opposites of movement and expression. So when there's something we may want to achieve, we have to have like faith that it will come to us. But what stops us from achieving or acting upon something is that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I see fear kind of a representation of damnation,
Mm.
because in when you're damned, the flow of water, like if a river's dammed, the flow is stopped and you can't go past that point. And fear in a way is a dam in your flow, and it keeps you from getting to the other side. Although you may want to go to that other side, you want to experience what it is to, like, for example, go to an event. Maybe there's a play that you want to see at the local theater and you don't have anyone to go with you, and all you want to do is see this play, but you have fear. You have fear of going alone. You have fear of going to a theater that you've never been to. You don't know where you're going to park. You've never been to this city before. But everything in your being is saying, I want to see this play more than anything. Now, you can have faith that you're going to be okay. And you're going
Mm-hmm.
to get to that theater. You're going to be able to park. You're going to go in. Everyone's going to be nice. You're going to sit down. You're going to enjoy the play. And you're going to feel so good once you get back in that car and you're on your way home. You did it. You accomplished something, but you let fear get in your way, and you're so fearful of being alone because you've never done anything alone before, then when you go, maybe when you go to the theater, you like kind of drive around the parking lot and like something is just terrifying you, like there's a monster on the other side and you're afraid to park and get out and walk in. maybe you don't even get that far. Maybe you don't even get to the parking lot. Maybe you can't even get ready at home and get in your car to go to begin with. But just that frequency, that energy that encapsulates you within creates this damnation from you flowing and going and acting on something you wish you could do.
That's 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 real. And like something that comes up for me as well in relation to that is um fear is also one of those things that has a scientific, like biological component. And I
Mhm.
realized that there's kind of two kinds of fear. There's fear that is in reaction to something that's a real and present danger, and then there's fear that's a reaction to something that is a perceived danger,
Yeah.
something that's not real.
Mhm.
And Myron
But
Golden
mhm.
talks about this too. But
Mhm.
it's just kind of like how when you are fearing something that's not real, that's anxiety, and that is something that I think is a tool of the devil to keep us from being able to go see that show or being able to live our lives,
Mhm.
because anxiety is keeping us from, like, if we do experience these things, it's not going to be at the quality that we could if we just had faith, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, fear of something that's real and present is just a way of, like, if a bear is coming our way, you feel fear,
Mhm.
that's like logical to have fear of
Mhm.
that bear. Now, that being said, you can still have faith in the presence even of a bear, and you can say, "Well, I know my life is in God's hands, so this bear comes this way. I trust God that He can keep me from being
Yeah.
destroyed." But it's at least when you feel fear in that moment, it's rational. But I think the fear that really, like, messes people's lives up the worst is like anxiety. It's the fear that's like rooted in something that hasn't even happened, that
Mhm.
isn't even like logical, that essentially is based on past trauma, that keeps people reliving their past and won't allow them to experience their future. And I think that that's the most dangerous fear that a lot of people get caught up and stuck in. It's like a trap, it's like a prison. And it's hard to know how to get out of that fear of bad things happening because a person has experienced bad things
Yeah.
happening before.
Well, it comes down to perception is reality.
Yes,
So even if you're just perceiving it internally, it's still going to create the reality for you and the external reality that you're going to act upon. So if you put yourself in a bubble of bad things are going to happen, then even if you do act, you might actually create the environment
exactly.
and the exposure to where your fears come true.
Yes. It's just like how in the Bible with the character named Job, he was a righteous man. He, would do so many good things that even God considered him like a righteous man, right? So that's when you know you've been doing your thing. But one problem is he had fear that bad things will happen to him, bad things will happen to his family. So he was constantly like, going the extra mile to prove to God that those things shouldn't happen. And the devil was allowed to wreak havoc on Job, and it didn't seem like a fair situation for him. But one of the things that really stood out to me about that story is the thing that Job feared came upon him.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is very pivotal and something that always gets overlooked when people tell
Mhm.
Job's story. But I think, to me, it highlights the power of allowing fear to take root in our lives and not address it, because we're afraid to address it, right? And so it's like a double edged sword. Like, it's like having the fear is probably more natural, but like being afraid of addressing the fear is another layer to that, to where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so you have this fear, like, just own it that the fear is there, and then find out what you need to do to, like, uproot it, because it's just like any type of weed or parasite or um disease. Like, it starts as a small seed, and if you don't uproot it and get rid of it, then it can spread
Yeah. And
and it takes
disalign you.
root. Yeah,
Yeah.
and all of a
Mhm.
sudden, next thing you know, like this small little fear has just like totally thrown everything off
Right.
in your life. And so it's important that like when you notice that fear, don't be afraid to address it. Like you have to see, okay, this fear issue is something that I need to get like control of. I have to figure out whatever
Mhm.
it is I need to do to make sure that I'm not living my life as a result of this little small fear, because
Yeah.
it's a small little seed that can just eventually grow and just destroy
Yeah.
everything.
Like it's the perfect analogy, the seed, because there's certain plants that if they infest your garden, they can overtake and kill off all the other plants that you
Mhm.
actually wanted to have grown.
Mhm.
And it's like fear starts small and then it can slowly creep into all different areas of your life. And then you could become, manic and have psychosis, and like you can go
Mhm.
down a real dark hole.
Mhm.
All beginning with just one seed of fear planted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so it's like with that manifestation of mania or some other mental health issues as a result of fear, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, so the next stage is like, well, how do I address fear? Because personally, I had anxiety a lot growing up and even into my adulthood. And one of the things that really like helped me begin to escape from that prison of anxiety was acknowledging it. Like I didn't know that anxiety was a problem for me. But once
Hmm.
like labeled it and realized, "Oh wow, wait, I have anxiety." It like changed the quality of my life to
Yeah.
where I was able to like start seeing a therapist. Like I was able to do things to help get my anxiety under control to where I wouldn't feel as just like so much nervousness about
Hmm.
everything that I was doing in life, right? And
Hmm.
so it's like once you have the awareness of it, that's the first step. But you probably wouldn't have it if that's like if anxiety is normalized in your environment, or if anxiety has kept you safe in the past. And because some people grow up in environments that are just so dangerous that it's kind of like
Yeah.
anxiety keeps them safe, almost like how you think of like roaches or rats or something, like
Yeah.
they're always jittery because they probably have a high likelihood of being destroyed because nobody
Yeah.
likes roaches and rats.
Hmm.
And it's kind of
Could be like
like,
their
yeah,
survival
it's like their
instinct.
survival
Yeah.
instinct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, when people have experienced such a negative things in life, it's like that kind of jittery feeling of like, oh, I better like be careful, or I don't want something bad to happen. And it's kind of like figuring out how to uproot that and realize like, you know, even though some fear responses may be natural and scientifically we could say, yeah, it starts in the amygdala, and evolutionarily human beings needed that fear response to
Yeah.
survive predators and all of
Hmm.
that. It's like, okay, so yeah, there may be a biological reason for fear. With that being said, we're no longer in caves. We're no longer like running from dinosaurs. Like we don't have to submit to the programming of our DNA and
Hmm.
live a lower quality of life just because that's what comes natural to
Hmm.
us.
Although there is the good purpose of it. For example, if because there's humans that could be monsters or predators out there that you know we might have some sort of feeling within, like an instinct, like kind of
Yeah.
like when you
Well,
look at a spider, your subconscious knows is dangerous.
yeah,
There's people out there that could kind of maybe give you that
that's
instinct a
true.
little bit.
Yeah, and to me, I think that that's like you can have the instinct, but it goes back to that frequency of faith or fear,
Yeah.
because it's like you can have the exposure to danger and not be afraid of it.
Yeah,
And
that's
what does
true.
that come from?
Right. Yeah.
That
Mhm.
comes from
Faith.
faith,
Yeah.
confidence.
Mhm.
You have faith, you have confidence. You know
Yeah.
that I have seen monsters before. I've seen spiders before, and I had the victory over them. So I know that they don't have power over me, right?
Right.
And so it's like being perceptive, and even in people that you have that come your way and they may present themselves to be a threat, it's like I know who I am and who God is, and that this person doesn't have more power than God. And
Yeah.
had people who tried to destroy me before, and they wasn't successful, and so I don't have to fear this person either. You
Right.
know what I
Because now
mean?
you have faith knowing that
Ye-
God's there and
eh,
that you'll be protected from it. And that if life goes on, say if you do go down that wrong path for too long, I mean, always having faith at the forefront will save you from the destruction of that
Right.
fear.
So you don't have to
Yeah.
like fear, and also I think it's like wisdom too, right? Like if you know somebody's dangerous, like wisdom tells you like, okay,
Yeah.
distance yourself from this person,
Yeah.
like create some space. Like one thing I learned, and like I think sometimes it can be naivety, is like having so much faith that you ignore the danger. And I've been guilty of that in the
Yeah.
past because like I have had
It's
such a
true.
like privileged life of
Mm.
being in God's presence that like I've let people who are dangerous too close to me that
Yeah.
I shouldn't, but it's because I have faith that God could protect me from them. But it's like you want to incorporate wisdom as well into
Yeah.
your interactions with people. So that way you know that like yeah, you can have faith that God will protect you, but also your life will be better if you just don't deal with those people
Right.
because your quality of life will be better
Yeah.
regardless of whether you protect it or not. You don't want to send yourself through like pain just because he'll
Yeah.
protect you.
Yeah.
So that's something else that just kind of came up as well thinking about
Right.
that.
Yeah. That's true because you can't change everybody and you can't
mm,
get those that are puppets of evil to come to the side of love in
no,
an instant.
no, they don't want to.
No. No. They're in their comfort zone
hmm
and of chaos.
yeah, and it's like when somebody is kind of vibrating on this frequency of like faith is strange. Like sometimes you can draw in like temptation, like draw in people that like see you vibrate on that frequency of faith, and they want to like pull you into the frequency of fear.
Yeah.
It's so
Misery
strange.
loves company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, was you about to say something? You gotta look like
Well,
something coming up.
it's like they view you as a threat to
Uh
their
huh.
homeostasis and to
Uh
their
huh.
equilibrium. So then you become prey. They have to take you down because you're a
Mm.
threat to their survival. If you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And that there are those, and then there's also people I realize that are so like stuck that they think if they can catch your wave, it'll bring them up out of their wave.
Right.
But it's not going to help them to like latch onto
Mm-mm.
you. They just
No.
pull you
Well, yeah,
down with
because
them.
they're looking for an external means to bring their internal self up to where they want to go, and everything starts from within, not externally. Now, things externally might influence your internal drive and impact of what you can do for yourself, but it has to come from within. Anytime, if you look back at maybe you said, okay, well, I'll be happy like once I get this job,
mm,
or I'll start this exercise routine once I can afford healthy food, or I'll eat healthy food once I get this job, but anytime you hit that milestone, it doesn't actually change anything internally, but
mhm,
you were just waiting. Or I know so many years of my life I said, "Oh, I'll plan my life and I'll figure out what career I'm going to do once I find a man and get married."
mhm,
But it's like that's not I was looking for external things to fulfill my internal self when it needs to be fulfilled internally and then the external comes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like visualizing it and getting faith around what you see yourself being. Once you get on that frequency, once you get connected to that, like the
Mhm.
outcomes matter a lot less as just living and like experiencing that joy and that gratitude of being in faith. You know what I mean? It's like you're not so attached to, well, what is going to happen? Am I going to find someone? Is this going to It's like once you start like feeling good about yourself, feeling love, feeling light, feeling the best version of yourself, then it's kind of like you actually do become content with not having what it is that you want. And it's that moment of contentment is where your dreams manifest from.
Mhm.
I've learned this so many times
Yeah.
in life, and it's happened several times. It's anything I ever wanted, whether it's a job, whether it's a car, whether it's promotion, whether it's whatever, getting out of debt. Like there's
Mhm.
so many things that like I have wanted, I've like prayed about, put out there, and whenever I was too focused on it, it would get further away.
Yeah.
But when I just got found contentment, when I
Yeah.
found gratitude in life, once I
Mhm.
started counting my blessing,
Mhm.
then it's like all of a sudden one day it's like, oh wow, this is exactly what I wanted, and it's
Mhm.
here now.
Yeah.
And
It,
so it's
it's like it's my forget theory, like you have to forget it to be forgetting it. If you want to receive it, you have to
mhm,
forget about it. You have to let it go because
mhm,
as soon as you focus on it, you are putting so much energy and it creates this like opposition to
right.
actually receiving it because it's already filled in your cup because all your energy is filling your cup right now of the thought of having it that you can't actually receive it
Well,
because there's no
it's
room.
because you've changed the energy source. You've switched into a frequency of fear instead of the energy of faith.
Right,
Be-
scarcity, not
yes,
having.
yes.
Mhm.
So when you focused on like what you want so much
Yeah.
that you are like basically telling yourself that there's a possibility that you can't have it, and just having that open door of like I can't, it's like pushing it away from
Right.
your life, you
Mhm.
know? And
Yeah.
it's like you can't like have both a optimistic outlook and a negative pessimistic outlook. Like you have to
Yeah.
either be on one frequency or
Right.
the other, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, because your brain can't have two opposing truths
Yeah.
exist within simultaneously.
Yeah. It's like I'm happy and sad.
Yeah.
And like obviously there's
You're neutral.
complexity
No.
to to emotions, but it's like I'm laughing and crying. Like you can do those
It's
things.
happened.
You can do those things, but it's kind of like
But faith was at the root when I
full.
was. When
See?
I was crying and laughing simultaneously, I was going through this spiritual awakening
Yeah.
and it was all rooted in love and faith. And
Yeah.
I had every emotion go through me at once. It was wild.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed about laughing and crying, just a side tangent,
Yeah.
is like the time that it's happened, like I think tears of joy, it's one thing to have tears than it is to have crying. Because
Yeah.
I realize sadness
Yeah.
comes from a different place in the body than
Definitely.
happiness. And so
Definitely.
I don't think you can truly experience real sadness and laugh at the same time.
We'll discuss off script.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Not,
We don't
not,
have time for
I know,
my
right?
stories.
Oh my gosh. No. Like I feel like it comes from a different place. I feel like it does.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll just share. The experience that I had, it was like I I I don't know, some could relate it maybe to a kundalini, some could say, I don't know, it was just an absolute encounter with God, but there was one moment that I shared with myself and God. I mean, I was alone and I was it was like the most love and yeah, faith and fear. It was the most faith and the most fear I ever had simultaneously. It was the most love and the most lack thereof that I've ever
Mm.
felt all at once. And it was like just this full blown spiritual awakening that I had because it was like one of the first times that I like went through, let's say, the narrow gate
Mm.
into heaven on earth and stepping out of hell for the first time spiritually.
Mm.
And it created a whirlwind of so much all at once. Like I was full blown crying in fear, laughing in happiness, but then like I don't know how to explain. all of these emotions that went through at once, because I don't know, there might not be words for the phenomenon, but so it wasn't crying from laughter. It was, but I felt so much love.
Mm.
So I was laughing, but I was so like, it was almost like this metamorphosis of
Sounds like
I'm losing
psychedelic
my
to
old.
me.
And you know what's wild? The odds of the person seeing this, but I literally called because there was no drugs involved, no hallucinogenics involved. But I called this Reiki master I knew the next that night. I was freaking out and they never answered my call. The next day I get a phone call from them saying, "Sorry, I was busy. This individual that I know like took 8 grams of shrooms and that's an insane amount." And he told me the experience, and it was like literally hand in hand the experience I had, and I didn't have any of those drugs. I just
Mm.
got to the point through meditation. Like,
Yeah, that's possible.
yeah,
You can enter a psychedelic state through
right.
meditation for
Because
sure.
drugs are just a gateway to get you to that frequency temporarily.
Hmm.
Whereas any of those frequencies I've been able to achieve in meditation in sensory deprivation rooms that I've
Mm.
created. That's
Yeah,
a
that's
whole nother topic we
yeah, no,
could go
that's definitely
on.
possible.
Yeah.
That happens. That's a phenomenon.
And my supervisor at the time thought I was on like a perma trip of acid. And I was just like, I've never tried a hallucinogen in my life, but everyone I know has. So I know it's a similar experience. And she totally thought I was lying.
Yeah,
But no, it's true. Like,
yeah,
just experience it through the frequency,
yeah. Well,
tapping and tuning into it.
yeah. No, life has these complex layers, and I think that when it comes to the topic of experiencing God, experiencing life, experiencing laughter, happiness, all these different things we can have, it's kind of hard to make absolute statements that you can't
Right.
be happy and sad.
That's true.
But the only point
Yeah.
I was making was that typically the way in which we experience these emotions are rooted in either some negative thing or positive thing, and it's hard to have both negative and positive at the same time because
Yeah.
obviously
Very
those
true.
frequencies will cancel
Hmm.
each other out, and
Hmm.
that's what I was more getting at
I
than the
know.
complexity of emotions that can happen when you're having a psychedelic experience.
With no psychedelics involved. All right, I digress.
But it was a good like side tangent though, because I think that it speaks to the importance of meditation,
Yes.
because I think a lot of times people are unaware of how much we have like stored underneath
Mhm.
um the the layers of our consciousness.
Yeah.
And when you just get quiet, it's so strange. Like even church today, they spoke about like meditation basically.
Right. And we even got to meditate
Yeah, and we
for
got to
5 minutes.
meditate. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's dope. Like,
That was nice.
yeah. But it's one of those things that I think can help with anxiety and also help you be more mindful of where your thoughts are going is when you're
Mhm.
able to meditate. And so many people, they specifically people that have issues with anxiety have a hard time meditating because they think like, oh, I'm having thoughts, like I'm failing at meditation, or they just get so uncomfortable without that like constant auditory stimulation
Yeah.
that the brain gets addicted to. And
Right.
it's like once you kind of turn it off, you start to realize like, oh my gosh, there's like spirits, there's like
Yeah.
this other layer of reality that I think a lot of people don't want to experience. And so
Mhm.
they just like keep themselves distracted instead
Right.
of like going to meditation. But
And speak as if it's not real.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And like it's not a judgment based statement I'm making either. Like I even have time
Yeah.
where I'm like, yeah, like I don't feel like meditating. I don't want to experience that side of life.
Right.
Like I don't want to be reminded of things that's happened in the
Yeah.
past. Like there's so much that can happen. It's almost like open up Pandora's box when you
Yeah.
go into silence. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so
So true.
it's like something that you should do with the caution of like, okay, this is for a purpose. Like I'm doing this to connect with God. I'm doing this to experience some level of breakthrough or some level of growth in life. Because I think a lot of times we get so like caught up on um just busyness and like being stimulated
Yeah.
that we aren't growing anymore.
The world of man.
Yeah,
Yeah, we get
yeah,
sucked back in.
yeah. And it's like just being purposeful with getting that time of like meditation, it'll help you be more mindful about which frequency you're on and like
Mhm.
not get caught up in that frequency of fear, not get
Mhm.
caught up in that frequency that, oh, things aren't going to go my way. Like you
Mhm.
just have faith and you can choose faith once you are able to control your mind. And one of the
Yeah.
best ways to control
Mhm.
your mind is through meditation.
Yeah, cuz fear and faith, it's both a choice. You know,
Yes.
and you can choose which frequency you want to tap and tune into
Yeah.
and what thought you capture and take action on.
Yeah. Our
Mhm.
brains are just transmitters.
Yeah.
And you
And receivers.
and receivers, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you want to be in control of your transmitter and your receiver. It's
Right.
like if somebody told you like, "Hey, I got this TV for you. You can put in your house, but you can't control when you turn it on or turn it off, and you can't control which station it's going to turn to. Do you want it?" We'd be like, "Heck no, that sounds creepy. I
No.
don't want that."
But that's George Orwell 1984 for you right there. Like cuz that's what happens
See?
in that satire.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and look at like our minds in that way.
Well, it's kind of our technology now too because we can't they have like what built-in batteries. You can't even remove the battery if you want. It's always listening even if it's off.
Mhm.
So we don't really have control over certain things
No.
as
And
this in this world of man.
they're constantly pumping messages into the brain too.
Yep.
So you can't control what's coming in,
Yep.
but you can't control how you respond to what's coming in. And
Exactly.
so you want to
Mhm.
be mindful of how you're directing your energy and like receiving your energy and like creating
Right.
with that.
Right.
And so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Always being mindful.
Yeah.
So share with us ways in which you have, chose the path of faith over the path of fear, and what has that yielded you in your life experience?
Yes.
Also, if you have not subscribed, please do. Thank you to our new subscribers we have gained since our last episode. We appreciate you and cannot wait to interact more.
Yes. Thanks everyone. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Of Exploiting the Explicit.